SportsCenter, and you are looking at Indianapolis, Indiana. Sign up Game 3 of the NBA Finals between the Thunder and Pacers tonight, 8:30 Eastern on ABC. Matt Barrie, Christine Williamson with you. We'll be joined by Brian Windhorst, Iman Shumpert, Tim Bontemps, Sandy Green, and Jermaine O'Neal this hour to dig deeper into tonight's game.
Cannot wait for that one, but we begin with a pair of stories getting attention outside the NBA Finals. First, the Knicks search for a new head coach. It's a developing story we're keeping an eye on here. Shams Charania reporting that the Mavericks have denied New York permission to interview Jason Kidd. This comes a day after the Knicks were turned down by the Rockets and Ime Udoka. And the Wolves on Chris Finch. Last week, former Villanova coach Jay Wright, who had 3 Knicks on his teams, also said he's not interested. So let's bring in Windy and Iman Shumpert. Now, in Windy, I'm going to start with you. The rejection continues for the Knicks. Where does this coaching search stand right now?
Yeah, I think the most important thing here is that the message that the Mavericks sent out here was not that this was a nah. This was a no. They are not interested in further negotiations at all. Don't even call back is the message they wanted out there. If that is indeed the case, and Jason Kidd and the Knicks are going to move on, the Knicks have to go look at the coaches who were just recently let go in the last few months. That would be the short list of Mike Brown in Sacramento, Taylor Jenkins from Memphis, and Michael Malone from Denver. That would be their secondary list. They obviously thought that they would have a decent chance of being able to negotiate a deal with one of these teams. That apparently is not the case at this moment, so they're going to have to move farther down their list.
Okay, just so I'm clear then, when you text me and it's NAH, I have a chance, nah. But if it's no, I stand 0 chance. I just want to make sure I get the Windyisms right.
Consider it with an exclamation point.
Okay, perfect. Punctuation's always key. Hey, Iman, stay with me here. This is starting to look like the Knicks didn't have a plan in place. Why fire a coach who just got you to the Eastern Conference if you weren't sure that you could get your guy?
I don't have the answers for that. I love to watch the Knicks and root for the Knicks. I've always watched them historically and wondered where a lot of the front office decisions come from or what they're thinking. And as a player, I always felt like, you know what, it's not up to me and all I should do is go out there and play hard. I'm excited for where they went. I don't know what you got to do to keep your head coaching job these days, but if Jason Kidd stumbles into that locker room, I trust him always.
Yeah, I just don't know that the optics of this are good if you're asking for coaches who are already employed. If you had a coach that got you to a place you hadn't been in 25 years, neither here nor there, at least for now. Another developing story in the NBA. Sean's also reporting that the Suns and Kevin Durant's representatives have met several times over the last few weeks to discuss trade scenarios. Shams says the Rockets, Spurs, Heat, Wolves, and Knicks have expressed interest. KD has 1 year left on his contract, and a destination may be linked to a long-term extension. It never really panned out with him and the Suns. So, Windy, how are the Suns approaching the Kevin Durant situation?
Right, their standard for what they want back in a Durant trade is comparable to what they gave up for him, which means starting quality player or players and multiple draft assets. With number of bidders, they would think that they can get some sort of bidding contest going, that they could get that. But Durant is now multiple years older and has uncertain contractual status, and plus he's dealt with some injuries. I do think there's obviously robust demand for Kevin Durant, but whether they're willing to meet a robust price, that is something that's going to play out over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and look, you're right. He's got mileage on him, but he's still one of the great players in the league. I don't know how it didn't work out with Phoenix and Devin Booker and the rest of that team. So, Iman, having said all that, which team do you think would be the best fit for KD?
Well, if we're talking about KD going for championships, it's later in his career, I would like to see him go to the T-Wolves. I think that Anthony Edwards needs some help, and I think that he learns a whole lot from Kevin Durant, from scoring the ball to what he sees at the end. I think a lot of the stuff that got thrown at Anthony Edwards was because he was 22 years old. And when he gets a guy like Kevin Durant around, a scoring champion around, then he can sort of understand what he looks at, see where the game comes to him, see where he doesn't have to force, and how he develops a game to play with other superstars at the end of a game.
Yeah, you just don't want to stunt that growth. You don't want to stunt where Anthony Edwards is headed, bringing in a guy like KD. That's why this is going to be fascinating to watch with how this is handled. Guys,
I don't think you could stunt. I don't think we could stunt Anthony Edwards.
No, okay. Well, it kind of, Devin Booker wasn't the same when he went to the Suns.
I don't know. I believe in a brand of basketball that KD plays. I think it could make sense. I don't think he would have that problem playing alongside Anthony Edwards.
I can't wait to watch how this unfolds. Gentlemen, so much to talk about in hoops. Sit tight.
Moving to the NBA Finals, where the Thunder and Pacers play Game 3 tonight in NBA Finals history. When the series is tied 1-1, the Game 3 winner goes on to win the series 80% of the time. Game 3 has not been kind to the Pacers this postseason. They've lost all 3 of them by an average of nearly 15 points. They are 13-2 in all other games this postseason, but don't worry, Game 3 hasn't been great for the Thunder either. In the West Finals, they lost Game 3 by 42 points against Minnesota. In the semis, they lost Game 3 in OT against the Nuggets. Okay, so Wendy, outside of that one moment of brilliance in the clutch in Game 1, Tyrese Haliburton hasn't really found his footing against this OKC defense. What jumps out to you about how he struggles?
Well, he's gotten the ball about 208 times so far, the tracking data shows, and he has gotten into the paint just 16 of those 208 times. That is an extremely low percentage. I don't have to do the math for you. And over the 6 times he's played against the Thunder over the last 2 seasons, he's gotten to the foul line a grand total of once. He has 2 free throws in those 6 games against them, over 200 minutes played. So he has talked about looking at the film over the last few days, trying to figure out ways that he can get in there. One of the things that he has been really surprised by is how aggressively the Thunder switch their coverages, which is what they're known for. They switch their lineups and they switch their coverages. One of the reasons why they switched their starting lineup coming into this was to enable fewer mismatch opportunities for Haliburton, as he did so often against the Knicks. So it's not going to be easy, but he spent a lot of time with the computer trying to figure out where the cracks could develop.
Let's pivot to SGA, Shump. Rick Carlisle, he said you can mark down 34 points for Shea before they even get on the plane. But what stands out to you about his offensive output entering tonight's game?
I think that we saw last game, SGA was very conscious of his teammates. I thought that he had other times in the first game where we thought that he wouldn't be as aggressive, and he was very aggressive, finishing things out almost, it seems like, by himself, taking on 1-on-5. In this game, we saw him make the pivot, make the extra pass, share it a little bit more, but make sure that he got guys into it. Make sure he let guys have big moments prior to that fourth quarter until it was time for him to take over.
Yeah, we know he can't do it all by himself. We'll see what they're able to do tonight against the Pacers in Game 3. You can catch more of Wendy on the Hoop Collective podcast after Game 3. Iman, you'll be back in a little bit later. Thank you, guys.
Throw the first punch. You got to try to throw all the punches all night.
We've got a Thunder avalanche here in Game 2.
And I just thought we were the aggressor tonight. The guys did a really good job of keeping the foot on the gas.
Shea Splendor on full display here in Game 2.
Time of death, 9:30 Central Standard Time.
It's still a race in the first of 4, so we're going to our home court, tied 1-1.
We had one goal in mind tonight, and that was to get a W, and we did so.
Feels like it's been 18 years since the last game, so very excited to get that one tonight. Joining us from Indy, 3-time NBA champion, Danny Green. Okay, so Danny, Tyrese Haliburton has struggled to find the right balance between passing and shooting against OKC's defense. What do you need to see from Hali back in Indy tonight?
I mean, I hate to beat a dead horse, but it's the same thing everybody's been saying all around the media world. He's got to be aggressive. And for me, that doesn't mean scoring. Yes, it would be great if he had 25-plus points. But to me, I just want to see him have like a 20-assist night and less turnovers. You know, if he had 3 or less turnovers, 20 assists, getting to the rim, get his teammates involved, and take care of the ball. So keeping that pace, that's what they're known to live off of. So if they thrive off of transition, they got to get out more, get Pascal running, and getting Obi Toppin and all those guys, you know, running the floor. So if he has a 20-assist night and 2 turnovers, I'm happy. But obviously, we want to see him score 30 points and have a 30-point triple-double. That may not happen, but I just want to see him be ultra-aggressive on the offensive end of the floor.
Yeah, and just get to the free throw line, be a little bit more aggressive there. So let's break down Game 3 further with a little game that we like to call red light, green light. It's green light if you agree, red light if you disagree with the following statements. The first statement, the biggest stat for the Thunder tonight is SGA's assist total.
Red light for me. I think their biggest and most important stat is rebounding. The game that they lost in Game 1, they got out-rebounded by 17. That's because they're going with that small lineup with Case and Wallace in the starting lineup, and they're not playing the big as much, so they're going to need to rebound. They need Chet on the board, they need Isaiah when they're there alone, and all their guards to be involved on that end of the floor to get the defensive stop. But they got to rebound.
All right, the next statement. The Pacers will need another fourth quarter comeback in order to win?
I'm going to go red light on this one. They're at home. This is game 3, and if you've seen OKC in the history of their game 3s, they haven't been that great. So I assume that Indiana's going to keep it within striking distance, if not be up most of this game, and keep it within single digits. So they won't have to come back from 15 this time. They just have to be mature, keep their foot on the pedals, steady pace. They've shown that OKC is vulnerable. They can beat them. They just have to continue to stay the course and feed off their fans in the background.
I know you're probably right, but it does make it a little bit more exciting that way. Finally, the series will go at least 6 games.
Green light.
Hey.
I predicted this to go at least 6 or 7 games. I want to see it go 6 or 7 games. Everybody does. Indiana got game 1. I expect them for sure at least to get at least one of these games at home to extend the series to 6, if not 7. So yes, I think this is at least a 6-game series. Unfortunately for the Indiana fans, I do have OKC tonight and in the series, but this goes at least 6 games.
That was going to be my next question. Who do you have winning the series? Matt Barrie has OKC. I decided to go with the Pacers in 7. So we'll see who wins.
A lot of people picking Pacers tonight, but I'm going OKC, so I think they're a really good team.
So they're going to split, then you think, in Indy?
Yes, they're going to split. OKC, game 3, game 4, Indy, and then OKC takes the next 2. That's my prediction.
All right, it'll be a good series regardless. Danny, thanks for the time. Enjoy game 3.